Hi guys, this is Dipti and welcome to my channel Life Admin 365 and welcome to today's video. Today's video is not a meal prep video. Yes, you heard that right. It's not a meal prep video. Instead, I'm sharing with you 5 meals that I couldn't share with you earlier on my meal prep videos because of time constraints. I made these meals either in January or February, and some of you might recognize the prepped ingredients from one of my older meal prep videos. I want to know from you all if a video like this would be of interest to you, where I share in some of the meals that I cannot share as a part of my meal prep videos. I want to let you know, guys, that I've just finished recording part 2 and part 3 of my mini meal prep series. I don't think it's going to be a mini meal prep series anymore. The more I'm recording, the more I'm realizing that there are so many things that I want to share with you guys. So there is a very good possibility that there could be a part 4 or a part 5. So stick around to see if there is one indeed. I will have part 2 of this mini meal prep series published by Monday morning latest. I hope you enjoy watching this video, and if you do give it a big thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't done so already. And to my existing subscribers, thank you very much for your honest feedback. I am paying attention to it, and going forward, meal prep videos will have a good voice over to them. So without further ado, let me present my meals to you. For this dish, I used a large crown of broccoli with its stems. I had thoroughly washed the broccoli crown in cold water and lemon juice, dried it completely before using it for this dish. I also made sure that all the leaves that were sticking to the stem were also removed. Then I cut off medium-sized florets along with their stems, ensuring that the florets were of similar size. Then transferred these florets on a baking sheet and generously drizzled them with olive oil. Next, I sprinkled pink Himalayan salt and red chili flakes. So while I was doing this, turned my oven on and kept it on preheating to 475 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 180 or 190 degrees Celsius. Then I gently massaged oil, salt and red chili flakes onto these florets and started arranging them on the baking pan. I staggered the florets and arranged them in a single layer on the baking sheet. Once the oven was preheated, I placed the baking sheet inside the oven and roasted the broccoli for about 18 minutes in total. Halfway through, that is around 9 minutes, I removed the baking sheet from the oven, turned the top sides of the florets down, and then placed the baking sheet back in the oven to finish off the roasting. Roasting in this way caramelizes the florets perfectly from all sides. Once roasting was complete, I got the baking sheet out of the oven and waited impatiently for them to come to room temperature. Then I squeezed some fresh lemon juice on these and ate quite a few of them right away off the baking sheet. It is best to eat these when they are slightly warm. A good sprinkle of lemon juice, some feta cheese, and they taste delicious. Whatever were remaining, I transferred them to a glass container, ensuring that they were completely cooled before transferring. Let's make some hot garlic tofu fry. I started with 3 blocks of extra firm tofu. Each block is about 16 ounces or about 450 grams. Tofu blocks come packed in water. I drained out the water from the package and then gently but firmly pressed each tofu block in between my hands to remove additional moisture. If you want, you can press the tofu block in between paper towels as well. I like to retain some moisture in the tofu, otherwise it dries out too much after cooking and tastes hard and chewy once it's refrigerated. Then I cut each block into 32 almost equal sized cubes. The best way to get this is the halving method, where you keep on halving until you get the desired numbers. See, I got a lot of these tofu cubes on my plate. Then I made marinade for sauteing the tofu. In my glass bowl, I'm adding 2 tablespoons of golden monk fruit erythritol, which is a sugar-free sweetener. Since I am reducing my sugar intake, I am using this sweetener as a replacement for your standard brown sugar. You can use brown sugar instead of this sweetener. Next, go in the red chili powder, about 2 teaspoons, followed by a heaping teaspoon of granulated powdered garlic. I did not have fresh garlic on hand at the time, so I resorted to using powdered garlic. After mixing the dry ingredients thoroughly, I'm adding about 4 tablespoons or 1/4 cup of crushed red tomatoes and then giving everything a good mix, after which I'm adding about 1 tablespoon of low sodium soy sauce and a splash of rice vinegar. After mixing everything thoroughly, I did a taste test and added some more soy sauce to adjust and balance out the flavors to my liking. At this point, I have not added any salt. I will adjust the salt taste towards the end at the final stage of cooking tofu. Then I placed my skillet on medium high heat and added oil to it. I used avocado oil, but you can use any flavorless oil of your liking. Once the oil was hot enough, I added about 2 teaspoons of sesame seed to it and mixed it around. I was trying to get the sesame seeds to become fragrant before adding tofu. Once the sesame seeds had browned, I added cube tofu and mixed everything around the pan. To this, I added the marinade sauce and mixed everything thoroughly. This required quite a lot of mixing around to make sure that each and every tofu cube was thoroughly coated with the marinade. Once that was done, I cooked these uncovered for about 2 minutes on medium high heat until the bottoms crisped up. Then I continued to stir and mix around and cook till almost all the sides of the cubes crisped up. So maybe about 6 or 7 minutes was the total cooking time. Once the desired crispness was reached, I turned off the heat and added chopped cilantro and mixed everything around once more to get the desired stir-fried tofu that I was looking for. I ate it along with oven roasted broccoli while my kids simply popped it in their mouths as a snack. You can use these fried tofu cubes in fried rice or as a filling for a veggie wrap. I'm so excited to share with you all my recipe for making Methi Malai Paneer. To start, I heated water in a white pan to which I add diced yellow onions and let them cook for about 3 to 4 minutes. In that time, I started making paste for the gravy. Since I was making this subzi low carb keto friendly, I replaced cashews with almond flour. In my small blender jar, I took half a cup of almond flour to which I added water, cooked onions and kept aside. To the same pan, I added about 1.5 tablespoons of ghee and whole spices. I used about 10 to 12 black peppercorns, 1 bay leaf crushed, a few broken cinnamon sticks, 5 whole cardamom pods, and about 5 to 6 cloves. Sautéed these on medium low heat until they became fragrant. Once they became fragrant, I added these roasted spices to my blender jar containing the almond flour and added about half a cup of water in part and blended everything to form a smooth paste. To the same pan which already had ghee remaining in it from earlier sauteing of spices, I added thawed and chopped methi leaves and sauteed them on medium high heat for about 4 to 5 minutes. I had washed, dried, chopped and freezed these methi leaves a couple weeks earlier, and I took it out the night before and defrosted them so that they were ready for today's preparation. Once the methi was sauteed and cooked, I transferred it to a bowl and kept it aside. Then to the same pan, I added 1 tablespoon of ghee, and as ghee started melting, I added the almond paste to it. Then I mixed everything thoroughly and cooked the paste until it became very light golden brown in color. Almond flour can burn very easily, so cooking has to be done on low medium heat, and it needs to be washed continuously and stirred continuously. I also rinsed the blender jar with water and added the water to this pan, and then once again mixed everything together to form a smooth consistent space and let it cook on low medium heat. To this, I added sour cream. Whenever possible, I prefer to use sour cream in place of heavy cream. If you don't have sour cream, you can use heavy cream in its place. Once the base sauce was ready, I added previously sauteed methi to it and let it come to a gentle boil on low medium heat. Then adjusted the consistency of curry with water. Once desired consistency was reached, I added paneer pieces and about 1 tablespoon of garam masala, salt and mixed everything thoroughly. And lastly, stirred in 1/4 cup of heavy cream and garnished it with chopped cilantro leaves. I prefer this sabzi on the milder side of heat. Hotness is only from the ground spices and garam masala. But if you want to make it hot, add red chili powder when you're cooking the almond paste. I ate the curry just by itself while my family ate it with homemade tawa roti. Let's make naan at home. I don't make naan very frequently as it takes quite some time to make it. But when I do, I always double or triple the recipe. And double is what I did today. I started with 500 grams or 4 cups of all purpose flour or maida. I added it to a large bowl to which I added 2 teaspoons of powdered sugar, followed by 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt, and mixed all the dry ingredients thoroughly. Then I made a well in the center and to it I added 1 cup of whole milk yogurt, 1/4 cup of milk, and followed it lastly with 1/4 cup of olive oil and mixed to form a shaggy dough. Then I kneaded with hand to form a nice smooth dough ball. It took me about good 10 to 12 minutes to form a smooth dough ball. Then I added some more oil, maybe about a teaspoon or two, to coat the dough ball completely. Then covered this dough ball with a plastic wrap and set it aside to rise. After about 3.5 hours of rising, I took the dough out from the bowl and kneaded it gently for a minute or two. Using a pizza cutter, I divided the dough in half. Each half I further divided so that I got about 6 pieces from them. From this batch of dough, I was able to get about 12 dough pieces. I rolled each dough piece into smooth rounds and placed them on a tray and let them sit covered for another 10 to 15 minutes to give them their second rise. While they were rising, I prepared my topping, which was crushed garlic and chopped cilantro. And I rolled each dough ball to about 4-inch rounds and placed them on a foil lined tray. Once I had 4 naans ready, smeared each one of them with crushed garlic and then rolled each one of these another inch or two. Just before I could roll out the naans the second time, I started heating my cast iron skillet. It is important to use cast iron pan or iron tawa for making naans at home. Non-stick griddles just don't work. I placed the garnished side of the naan touching my palm and using the other hand applied water uniformly to the non-garnished side. Then place the naan on the sizzling hot cast iron pan with the garnished side facing upwards and cooked on medium heat for about 2 minutes or until bubbles started forming on the surface and the edges seemed dry. Then I inverted the skillet over the flame, increased the heat to high and kept on moving the skillet over the flame and did this until the bubble peaks started charring. Water applied to the side of the naan ensures that that side remains stuck to the skillet and does not fall off from the skillet. Then flipped back the pan, lowered the heat, brushed naan with salted butter and using metal tongs removed it from the skillet. I did not have any difficulty in removing the naan. Everyone was impatiently waiting for the naan to get cooked, and as soon as it was cool enough to handle, everyone just jumped on it. I could only save 4 for taking pictures. So, the moral of the story is fresh, homemade garlic butter naan does not last for a long, it just disappears in a jiffy. And whatever remains can be served with any gravy based curries or sabzi. Let's make vrat friendly Sabudana Appe. I began by soaking 2 cups of sabudana in 4 cups of water and set a timer for 15 minutes. As soon as the timer buzzed off, I proceeded to drain the water out. Because I wanted to make appe and not khichdi, I wanted sabudana slightly on the wetter side, not soggy, just a tad bit wetter than what I use for khichdi. So I left a little bit of water on top of the sabudana, around half a centimeter or so, covered it and soaked it overnight. Sabudana needs to be soaked at least for 5 hours so before it can be cooked. Next day I gathered all my ingredients for making appe. Today I wanted to try a different recipe than the traditional recipe. I wanted to add upwas bhajani, which is a blend of vrat approved grain. Transferred soaked sabudana to a large measuring cup, added upwas bhajani followed by crushed boiled potatoes, roasted and ground peanuts, chopped cilantro, red chili powder, chopped green chilies and pink Himalayan salt. Mixed everything together very well and using a cookie dough scoop, scooped out the mixture and then rolled them into balls. Halfway into this process, I started heating my appe pan and added ghee to each slot of the appe pan. Finish scooping out the remaining mixture and rolling them into balls. As soon as the pan was sizzling hot, I placed the sabudana balls in the slots of the appe pan, coated the tops of the sabudana balls with some more ghee, and turned the sabudana balls within the slot so that they cook uniformly on all the sides. Traditionally, these are not cooked covered, but because I had added upwas bhajani, I wanted to make sure that it got cooked thoroughly. After about 4 minutes of cooking on medium heat, I uncovered the pan, turned the sabudana balls around and cooked it from all the sides until they were golden and crispy. Couple more minutes of cooking with constant turning around and these were ready. These were a bit on the denser side, so the next time I make them, I will either reduce the quantity of upwas bhajani that I add or totally eliminate it. I served the sabudana appe with sweetened yogurt. To go along with the sabudana appe, I needed to make yogurt. I was completely out of it. To make this yogurt, I started with 8 cups of whole milk. Poured the milk in a heavy bottom pan and heated it until it came to a boil. I constantly stirred the milk so as to prevent the formation of thin layer of skin on its surface. Then turned off the heat and cooled it to about 110 degrees Fahrenheit or lukewarm to touch on the insides of my wrist. Then I transferred about 4 ounces or 1/4 cups of room temperature yogurt culture to a cup, added some of this lukewarm milk, mixed everything thoroughly and poured it back into the milk. Gave everything a good stir once more, covered the pot with the lid, then covered the whole thing with a kitchen towel and placed it in a warm place for overnight incubation. Because it's so cold here, it took more than 12 hours for incubation, but the end result was worth the wait. Nice and thick yogurt, mostly sweet with a slight tang. Perfecto. I had milk that was expiring today, so instead of throwing it away, I decided to reduce it and make khoya from it. I don't know the exact quantity, but I think it was about half a liters of milk. All I did was boil the milk in a heavy bottom pan on medium heat and cook it with constant stirring. I took the easy path and added whole cardamom seeds instead of grinding them. If I was adding cardamom powder, I would have added it at the end and not at this stage of milk reduction. When the milk had reduced to almost 3/4 of its volume, I added 2 tablespoons of my sugar alternative. However, you guys can add regular sugar if you want. Then added about 2 tablespoons of butter and kept on reducing it even further. A couple minutes later, turned off the heat and let the residual heat finish evaporating all of the moisture. Once it cooled completely, I transferred it to a container. This was my low carb snack. I hope you've enjoyed watching these cook with me meal videos, and if you did, do give this video a big thumbs up and let me know which one was your favorite. I hope you consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't done so already, and stick around for upcoming parts of my mini meal prep series.